Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this absolutely amazing chess game that I'm excited to share with all of you. It's 1993 and we are currently in St. Petersburg, Russia. With the white pieces, we have Grigory Serper, and with the black pieces, Ioannis Nikolaidis, a Grandmaster from Greece, multiple-time representative of the Greek national team in the Olympiad. Now, Serper was a finisher in the top 4 of the World Junior Championships in 1988, finishing among the greats like Ivanchuk, Gelfand, and Joël Lautier. So, definitely no slouch, and we kick things off with c4, g6, and now white plays the move e4. So what begins with an English opening, black pretty clearly just commits himself to putting the bishop on g7. So we have e4, bishop g7, d4, and now d6. White takes full control of the center with 3 pawns and develops a knight. Now we have transposed from an English opening back to a King's Indian defense. Now black plays the move knight to f6. Now here, white's got a million different things that they can play. That means pawn up, that means bishop out or there, you know, the g5 or this bishop or this knight, whatever. But Serper plays a move, knight e2. Now, if you just look at that move like looks like it doesn't make any sense. I mean, why would you block your bishop? Why would you block your queen? I mean, I guess you're reinforcing this knight. Well, if that move shocks you, this next move is really going to shock you. Now white plays the move knight g3, and it's like, I don't understand. Why wouldn't you just go to f3 in one move? Why would you take, you know what I mean? Like, how does that make any sense? That's doing 2 loops around the parking lot, but taking the adjacent parking spot to the one that was available. Well, chess is a kind of game where we have a lot of different branches in the opening, and every single way that you play, as long as there's no clear drawback, has a very specific set of plans afterward. And so after white plays the next move, bishop 2e2, well, you're basically leaving the fact that you can play f4 in the future. And this knight pressures an entirely different set of squares than it would on the square f3. And for the cost of making one extra move, it's actually not so bad. Now, black plays a6, very non-confrontational. Black is basically setting up the spikes on the 6th rank here. There are many other variations of the King's Indian where e5 or c5 or even b5 get played, but more on that later, because after bishop e3, one pawn crossed the middle rank, and then the other pawn on the other side of the board crossed the middle rank. So basically, Nikolaidis wanted to play h4, basically punishing Serper, saying, bro, I don't understand. Like, what are you doing here? Why is this knight on g3? You're going to have to drop it back. But, you know, again, more on this later. We'll see what happens. And the general rule of thumb on b5 in the King's Indian defense is you don't really want to take, because I understand you can, and it's a fair trade, but at an elementary level, not all, you know, at an elementary level, I should say, fair trade is fine. I always tell this to students. If it's 1-1, consider doing it. But the truth is that this transformation of the pawn structure helps black a lot more, because black activates the rook and just expands without really much kind of doubt of their position. But with white playing c5, now white has locked the structure, and if this pawn wanders in, this knight will move. And this pawn's kind of like a loner. You know, you kind of wander in the wrong part of town. Getting out is going to be difficult because, number 1, pawns don't go backwards, just in case you didn't know. And number 2, I mean, you're surrounded by all the enemy pieces, right? So in this position after c5, we had a trade, and that isolates this c-pawn completely on its own. Now, granted, it's difficult to attack. In fact, if you could find a way in this position to safely attack that pawn, note I said safely, I will give you a lot of money. And the truth is that you can't, because if you said bishop here or queen here, that pawn will just take back. But it is a target, and black plays the move queen c7, getting out of the way with the queen, castles. That pawn comes forward, and this just looks like, I mean, this just looks terrible. It looks like, oh my god, what is Serper doing? He's the worst player of all time. Like, what? Why did he put a knight on h1 voluntarily? Well, here's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. This knight, as the game progresses, will rotate around, and this is a very serious overcommitment of the position by black. Like, black is really throwing haymakers, and what happens when 2 guys are throwing haymakers? Someone's gonna get knocked out, alright? That's just how it works. And so in this position, Nikolaidis played this move, knight to f8. This move serves 2 purposes. Number 1, the bishop is activated. I said 2 purposes, and then... Oh, I did stick up 2 fingers. I thought I... Sorry. It's tough being a chess YouTuber. You can't really count very well. So first of all, he opens up the light squared bishop, and second of all, he wants to rotate his knight to e6, because frankly, if he moved it to f6, it would never go anywhere, right? And we need to go places in life, so sometimes you need to take a step back to go 2 squares forward. Sometimes you get chess on this channel, sometimes you get life advice. Well, the move knight to f8, a retreating move backward, allowed Serper to have a think, and he was looking at the position like, all right, everything's good. Now, we both have 7 pawns, so that means I'm looking for pawn breaks, and frankly, any pawn break that I try to make on this side doesn't really work in my favor. Now, what about on this side? Well, I can play the move a4. Now, if my opponent takes, I'm very happy because now they've got 2 weaknesses, and this transformation allows me to jump in with my knight, pick off these 2 pawns before the guy's going to get castled or bring his knight forward and any of that business. But what happens if the guy just completely ignores me? Well, if he ignores me, then I take, and then I open up this. So I'm getting to him before he's able to get settled. But what about a4, b4, and my knight is hanging? Well, this isn't very good. I can't move forward. I gotta go back. Oh. But wait. I can, in fact, move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. First things first, he sacrifices his knight for 1 pawn. Now you're gonna say, Gotham, why didn't he take with the queen attacking the rook? Well, dear viewer, who clearly was wondering this, sometimes in chess you play a move where you take something and you attack another piece, and it looks good because you took something and you attack another piece. But then at that point, you don't just stop there. You go, well, what are they going to do? I mean, are they just going to let me take the rook? And if you're below 1,000, there is a 35% chance that they don't even see that. Now, if you're above that, and the higher you go, the higher chance they move the rook, and the queen and the pawn are not going to do damage together. Actually, it's beneficial to take with the pawn, because then the pawns are connected. So these pawns are passed, which means they have they're not blocked by any enemy pawns going to the other side trying to become queens or rooks or bishops or knights, but they're also together. That's really good. Having a friend is nice. And if you don't have one, I'll be your friend, and so will this entire community. But pawns together, oh, very powerful. So f5. Nikolaidis says this is the only pawn that hasn't been pushed, and I am a firm believer in pushing pawns and also trapping my opponent's bishop in the center of the board. But now d6, attacking the queen moves. And okay, probably Nikolaidis played queen c6, says, all right, I did something to these pawns called blockading. Now, Serper is on some sort of narcotics. I don't know what he's doing. He's hallucinating that he's got some sort of initiative here. There's no way he can break through this position. And Serper said, how do I need to play to get into a GothamChess YouTube video 28 years into the future? And he played the move bishop to b5. There we go. Bishop number 2. Piece number 2 has been sacrificed. And you have to take it because otherwise your queen is pinned. And now we have takes. 2 problems. Number 1, queen is hanging. Number 2, queen guards the rook. And this is hanging. So, for example, let's say black just says, I don't want you to take my rook. Well, white now will go here, and there are 3 friends walking together. And let me tell you something. You thought 2 pawns back to, linked together like this was bad. Wait till there's 3, all right? Then they're seriously rowdy. They're going to destroy everything, and something like this might happen. And, I mean, yeah, now you got the dragon there. No, we don't want this. So the guy says, all right, I got to take the bishop, I got to sack my rook, and let me just go back and attack. Now, of course, just because something is under attack doesn't mean you have to move it. You can also protect it, right? As long as the value is there. So Serper activates the only piece that hasn't gotten into the game, and on the next move, his bishop is trapped. He says, I don't care, I've already sacrificed 1 bishop and 1 knight. What's another bishop? And the thing is, in this position, if he actually got his bishop taken, he has an absolutely beautiful move. Now, he could just take back, and the thing is that the rooks are so dominant that black can't do anything, but who needs slow moves? That's not what GothamChess likes to feature. Here, he would have played queen d5, which sacrifices a queen for free, except for the fact that it doesn't, because the queen's guarding the bishop, and that's mate. You ever learned ladder mate? You should, because whoever thought you would get ladder mate in a position where you're down a queen and a bajillion pieces? I know, right? But for that reason, Nikolaidis did not take on e3. Instead, he said knight d7. All right, stupid. Now your pieces are blocked. Oh, so much ado about nothing. I'm going to castle short. I'm going to get consolidated. And here Serper said, all right, I've already sacked a knight, a bishop. I tried to give him 1 more bishop. I don't know why he's looking at his watch to decide this, but, you know, I do these things on the fly, so bear with me. So he says, what's a rook? Rook takes c8. I mean, I might as well. I mean, the guy's going to get castled if I don't do it. All right, queen c8. Now what? Oh yeah, you want a castle? Queen d5 only move, which prevents you from castling, because castling your king into danger is illegal. So now, black is at a moment where he is only up 2 points of material, which is astounding, by the way, because white has literally sacrificed the house, but now he takes 1 more bishop. I mean, might as well, right? Up 5 points. And you're also attacking the knight. Now, a normal person here plays the move knight to d3 and slowly begins expanding into the position, but Grigory Serper is beyond normal humanity. He clearly values none of his pieces. It's basically like when the Pharaoh dueled against Raphael in the Darts and Atlantis saga of Yu-Gi-Oh! My Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans will know what I'm talking about, and literally every other human watching this will go, Levy, can you just shut up and talk about the board? And I will. So, Serper plays queen to e6 check, and the king moves, and you say, oh, well, he's so good. I mean, yeah, but what about his last knight? Another piece which is getting shot across on the catapult. And now, potentially, the most important move of the game. You're gonna say, what? What do you... He's in check. Like, he can't mate the guy, he's in check. And I know, and he doesn't take. This is something known as an umbrella pawn. I actually have to give credit to Robert Hess, Grandmaster Robert Hess, for that term. Oftentimes, when your opponents are trying to shatter your king's safety, taking the pawn that they provide can oftentimes lead to a counterattack. And in this case, it would have led to literally a loss. Like, black would have gotten enough time to create counterplay and win the game. So, he hides behind his opponent's pawn. As scary as that looks, he's not afraid of knight to g3 because he just takes, and queen f7 is threatened. So black plays queen e8. And now, well, obviously you can't trade queens, so here Serper said, I've sacrificed enough, but not quite enough. Rook f7. Because if you don't take my rook with your queen, I will take your queen. So you have to. Now I go there. Remember those two pawns? Yeah, well, your king can't escape, so I have to block, and now just beautiful move. d7. This happens sometimes with rooks like this or queens like this where you attack and protect at the same time. He protect, he attack, but most importantly, he eats snack. And now the queen's hanging, and this queen is defended, so black has to go king f7. Black could also theoretically take and allow a new queen and go king f7, but now we have this, this, queen b7, rook e7, pawn to c6. Look at that. He offers another queen for sacrifice. That's a promotion and the sacrifice of a new queen because both of these pieces cannot protect the promotion of the pawn. If I asked you in this position, what is white's biggest asset? If you said the queen, you would be naive. It's not. It's not the queen because a queen cannot win a battle against these three pieces. It's the pawn. The pawn is the difference maker ultimately. And by the way, that's the pawn that he pushed originally. Now, of course, black doesn't take. Black plays e4. The idea of e4 is that you want to bring your bishop to stop the pawn from moving forward. But white is just going to push again, right? So now we have e3. And in this position, it's actually kind of funny. If Serper had just made a queen, he loses the game because e2 check. And even though he has two queens, the king is the problem. And now that umbrella pawn comes back to bite because black promotes and it's mate. Even if the rook is pinned, theoretically, it's still serving the defensive role. So Serper had to take a moment here and just pause and go, all right, well, I can't blunder mate. I mean, then I won't end up in a GothamChess YouTube video 28 years into the future. So let me give a check. And the king's going to move. And let me give another check. Now the king goes back. Now here, he did something called repeating. So he made the time control. That was the 40th move. Now the time control in chess is you make it to the 40th move in a long game, you get bonus time for the remainder of the game. If you play 3-minute or 10-minute or 1-minute chess, that's not the case. But long games, sometimes you do this because if you make a critical decision on move 39 with no time on the clock, you're going to regret it, right? So if you have a chance to repeat and get that extra time and think, and now he sacrifices his next queen. And ladies and gentlemen, the third queen appears for white. I mean, Grigory Serper has a harem or something. It's an inappropriate joke. I apologize to any parents watching with kids. You'll have to explain what that means to them. Bishop h6, and now the only hope remaining for the rest of the game is e2. And some sort of promotion, and Serper plays check. Check to get the king on the right kind of complex that he needs. So the king goes to d8. We have check again, and he doesn't go for this, and he doesn't go for this, and he doesn't go for this. He goes for the meat of the position, and he hits both pieces. And here we have pawn to e2 check. One last desperate attempt. Which pawn do you take, ladies and gentlemen? 50-50 chance. Some of you definitely said, take this pawn, because Gotham said not to take this pawn. No, I said not to take that pawn in the last position, right? Just because I said that 20 moves ago, the position's completely changed. You have to think about what they will do. And if you go here, they will go here, and all of a sudden, your beautiful masterpiece that you've painted for 47 moves, goes down the drain. You hang your queen after a beautiful game. How many of us have done that? Then you want to throw your computer out a window, or yourself, or both, in either order. And so, Serper played this king capture, and here we have bishop to e3, a nice little trick to try to deflect the king away, and you still can't take. But the final move of the game, the king returns to its rightful home. Serper knew that it was game over, so he played king to e1 because he knew that Nikolaidis would resign in this position and they would begin setting up the board to its standard position. I'm joking. He had literally no other move. He plays king to e1 and Nikolaidis resigned. And with that, Mr. Grigory Serper, as his name was kind of Americanized as he moved to the United States later, they call him Greg Serper now, won an absolutely brilliant game. And what to say, this was voted like, top 5, top 6, like attacking game of, the 1990s or something by some polls, and just an absolutely unbelievable game. The guy sacrificed over, technically if you want to count every single sacrifice, over 40 points of material. Granted, a few of those moves were kind of immediate promotions, which were, not that immediate promotion, but a couple moves prior. One of his, like this one is not quite, but listen, dramatic effect. I gotta say something crazy, so you click on it, and then you get quality content in the video. Now, Serper actually went on to do incredible things in chess. This game was already a masterpiece, but like I said, he was a world junior champion. He moved to the United States in 1996. He immediately won the World Open, which is one of the, if not the most prestigious open tournament in the United States. Fantastic event, and he competed for the US Championship, actually making it to the finals before losing to Boris Gulko. So Serper now is, I believe, 50 or 51 years old as of April 1st, 2021. He's a frequent contributor to chess.com, so you can feel free to check out like some of the stuff that he writes on chess.com. But man, what a game. What a game. People have sacrificed material in chess before, and there's few things more flashy in chess than sacrificing material to deliver something beautiful. But wow. Sacrificing literally your entire army is pretty rare while anticipating that opponent's counterplay and shutting it down. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's an absolute pleasure making these videos for you. If there's a game that I haven't covered yet, do let me know in the comments below. I do go through them, I do read them, and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to check out some of my courses. Link is in the description, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video.